We meet Alexandra Maksachuk, the Nobel Prize laureate, documenting alleged Russian war crimes in Ukraine, to talk about how Russia is using information as a weapon of war. And we talk to two young people using different ways to stop it. The newsroom is next. This is the BBC World Service, the world's radio station.
This is Alex Ritson with the newsroom. Israel and Hezbollah are heading for disaster in Lebanon. A stark warning from the head of the United Nations. The people of the world cannot afford Lebanon to become another Gaza. A Swiss court sentences 4 members of Britain's richest family, the Hindu Jews, to jail for abusing servants. They say they'll appeal.
I have the feeling that this behaviour was judged on moral grounds and not on legal grounds.
Denmark faces demands for compensation from people forcibly taken away from their families in Greenland. The climate activists forcing the US to to clean up its transport sector.
And she quoted in John Mayer's spoken from an AI side. And she played it for me, and I was terrified, like literally hyperventilating practically.
Cheryl Crow, in why artificial intelligence poses a threat to singer-songwriters. First this news. I'm Stuart McIntosh. Well, the BBC News, hello. The International Committee of the Red Cross says that services in Gaza have been damaged by shelling, which killed 22 people who'd sought shelter around its compound. It said all parties had an obligation to avoid harm to civilians. Julian Bedford reports. The ICRC did not say it carried out the attack on its officers, only that it was the most recent of several incidents to endanger the lives of humanitarians and civilians. Hundreds of displaced Palestinians are living in tents around the ICRC compound, and its president said the protection of civilian lives was the line between humanity and barbarity. The Hamas-run health ministry blames Israel for the shelling, but the IDF said there was no indication that its forces were responsible, though the strike is under review. Reports from the northeast of the Democratic Republic of Congo say attacks by a rebel militia left numerous people dead and injured in a rich mining area of Ituri. Here's Annie McCall.
Officials said the Qodosen militia launched several assaults on villages in Jordan territory on Thursday and Friday, setting houses on fire and killing gold miners, women and children. One said the Congolese army arrived too late to prevent a massacre, and many people had been displaced. Dozens of civilians have been killed in Qodosen attacks on villages in Ituri province since the beginning of the year. The militia claims to be fighting for the interests of the Lendu farming community against Hema herders. But analysts say much of the violence is linked to the rich mineral resources of the region.
The military authorities in Niger say rebels have damaged an oil pipeline carrying crude oil to neighboring Benin. State media blamed malicious individuals who it said would be apprehended and prosecuted. The attack has been claimed by the Patriotic Liberation Front, which wants the release of President Mohamed Bazoum, who was overthrown in a coup last July. A U.S. family is seeking more than $80,000 in compensation from NASA after space debris smashed into their Florida home. Abigail Ardsley has more details.
In March this year, a small cylinder of metal plunged from the sky and struck the Otero's house in Naples, southwest Florida. It tore through the roof and 2 floors, causing damage not fully covered by their insurance. NASA later confirmed the object was part of a battery pellet that it had jettisoned from the International Space Station 3 years before. The Oteros are seeking compensation for the damage to their property, as well as mental and emotional distress. Their lawyers say the case is groundbreaking and will set a precedent for how the issue of falling space debris is handled in the future.
This is the World News on the BBC. Boeing and NASA are again postponing the return of a Starliner spacecraft from the International Space Station in a mission which has been built with problems. Starliner took off from Cape Canaveral with 2 astronauts on board in early June on a mission expected to last a week. But the test flight suffered from thruster problems and helium leaks. The author of the Harry Potter novels has criticised the British Labour Party for abandoning women concerned about transgender rights. 12 days before the general election, J.K. Rowling said she would struggle to vote for the party leader Keir Starmer. More details from Louisa Pilbeam.
J.K. Rowling has been outspoken in recent years about transgender issues, particularly happily that biological women should have separate spaces from trans women. In 2021, McClure criticised comments by the Labour MP Rosie Bradfield, who said only women had a cervix. So earlier this week, he said he agreed that biologically a woman had a vagina. J.K. Rowling says she has been a Labour voter all her adult life, but she said